Buenos dias, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bob Jenkins. I'm from the Delta of Mississippi, and I am a proven fisherman through my trade. I don't even know if this is the proper accent to be using for this, but I hope y'all are really going to enjoy this one because while we are currently away from the catch of the day, we are here on the X-Bomb Sports live show. Is that good enough for you? Does that work? Okay, cool. So apparently I played another character for the day, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Andrew Valentin. I hope you're all having a wonderful, wonderful Monday as always. This is the X-Bomb Sports Live Show coming to you live here from the O'Hare campus here in the great state of Illinois, here from Chicago. Again, everybody, I hope you're having a good one out there. Happy Halloween, by the way, too. I know it's not Halloween yet. We are, 2 days away? 3 days away. 3 days away from Halloween, so I hope you all have a wonderful Halloween while we're here on the week. I hope everybody was able to celebrate if you could over the weekend. I know I definitely did. I had a lot of fun kind of getting dressed up. I went as Iowa man. He wears flannel. He wears this kind of hat like this, has the aviator sunglasses, all that good stuff. So I hope everybody enjoyed themselves and continues to enjoy themselves over the holiday weekend. Keep watching those spooky, scary movies. Keep watching the great stuff, ladies and gentlemen. But we are here to talk about sports. We talked about Halloween stuff last week. This week, we're talking about sports, and we got a lot of sports stuff we got to cover today. We're going specifically on the football side, and then we're going to get to some baseball stuff here as well, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you all are very prepared for this one because it's going to be very fun. So without further ado, let's get this one started. And we're going to kick this one off with, of course, the NFL, because my goodness, this weekend we had a lot of big moments happen that are going to be pretty intriguing to talk about. Keep everything pretty brief. Again, ladies and gentlemen, as always, if you want to catch this stream, we are live right now at youtube.com/xbombsports and on twitch.tv/xbombsports where you can find us. You can also follow us on our social media at xbombsports on Instagram and on Twitter. For any questions or comments there, you can ask us there too. You can also ask us on the Twitch and the YouTube side as well. We'll be checking in on that. And if you have any questions or comments on the side as well that you want to ask off the show or even during the show as well too, you can email us at xbsportsofficial@gmail.com. We'll be answering more of your questions as we go throughout the rest of the year. Obviously, we got a lot more stuff we're going to be carrying, but I'm going to try and answer some of your questions here as they become part of the show. I want to make sure they kind of stay within the loop of what we're talking about for the most part, but we'll kind of get outside of things and talk a little more off topic and stuff like that, the Friday show, I know some of you guys have been asking about that. I know we've been saying that scheduling's kind of been a little difficult for us as of late, but when we do the Friday show, that's probably where I will answer more of the personal question stuff, kind of more offhand topic stuff like that. That may just become the Aftershock podcast more than anything, where we just kind of shoot the stuff and talk some regular life things as you guys ask questions or whatever. So we'll see. It all kind of depends on how many people can actually get in and stuff. And also, it's going to be a short show, just to kind of note that. But let's talk about the NFL here too, folks. Let's do this. So the one I want to start off with is, we talked a lot about the Cleveland Browns situation last week, right? Cleveland came in, Deshaun Watson got hurt, Myles Garrett and Jameis Winston both kind of had their thing to say about Deshaun Watson. And, I sat here kind of critical of them, but at the same time, it's understandable why fans would boo a player who got paid a lot of money. This isn't a life-threatening injury. It sucks because it might be career-ending, but you never know. You can come back from this stuff nowadays. Like, there's all of these sorts of factors that play into it. But the Browns were kind of in a difficult position, right? They had their backup quarterback, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who got out with an injury. Jameis Winston came in. He threw a touchdown pass late in that last game. And then all of a sudden he comes in on this game, and he is the starting quarterback. He's playing against the rival Baltimore Ravens, right? Well, not much of a rivalry because the Ravens have really crushed them years and years and years all the way through. So it would go to note to say that, well, Baltimore's been on a roll. They've got the better quarterback. They've got the better team all around. So why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they beat the Browns, right? That's kind of the area of thinking. That's what we all thought. And then the game went. And then it progressed, and it got further and further in, and you kind of start to see that the Browns may actually have a competitive nature to themselves. And believe it or not, Jameis Winston comes through and pulls out a 29-27 victory over the Baltimore Ravens. His stats on the day were unbelievable. 27 of 41, 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a quarterback rating of 84.6. He might have been the best quarterback of the day, excluding maybe like Kirk Cousins, which I know people would be like, that's odd to say, right? Considering that Cleveland lost who would be considered to be the better of the two quarterbacks in terms of talent in Deshaun Watson, right? They lost Amari Cooper, their top wide receiver. They're down on guys on their offensive line. Their defense is frustrated and aggravated, and they're banged up and injured as well. And here you have your backup quarterback, really your third-string quarterback more than anything, if not that, coming in, who's been a proven veteran with the Saints, but for most of his career, he was considered to be a young guy who was too immature to handle being a number 1 overall pick by Tampa Bay, staying too close to home. A lot of, his own issues were generating around it, right? He had his own, cases against him for sexual assault, and he had the crab legs incident and all this stuff that was dwelling around him and everybody joking about him. And he had the 30-30 season of 30 touchdowns, he had all this stuff, all this baggage weighing on him. And he goes out and he performs like this and beats a very good Baltimore Ravens team. Now, does this mean that Cleveland's going to go on a run? I wouldn't necessarily say that. But does this mean that they're dead in the water? No, not even close. This is exactly what I think Cleveland needed. They needed a bit of juice. They needed a little bit of life. And Jameis Winston gives that. He's corny. He's hokey. He's very college atmosphere type of guy. Like some people have noted, like, man, this guy's going to be a very good high school football coach. And he very well might be. Like, he's got that energy. And I think he's got the smarts for it, too. Like, he's now starting, I think, to get it. That you can be that kind of a guy, but also learn, sit, listen, study. I think he'd be a very good coach. I think he's got that passion in him to be that kind of dude. I think he's got the smarts to do it as well. It's just when you look at him as an NFL quarterback, there's a lot of questions, I think, about where his talents lie at long term, right? You thought he was going to be a franchise quarterback. Turns out he's probably better as a backup. But as a backup, he's a pretty efficient guy. He can do the job. I don't think, as much as the Cleveland Browns may deny it, and they may deny it for years and years until they're all retired, when Deshaun Watson got on this team, I don't think any of them wanted him there. I don't think any of them respected the fact that he was there. I don't think any of them liked it. We saw the video. You saw the video probably. Offensive lineman is getting up. Watson goes to reach down to bring him up. He gets his hand slapped away. There's no chemistry on that team with Deshaun Watson whatsoever. They don't want him there. There's guys that might believe in him. Maybe even Myles Garrett was like, yeah, I'm going to ride with this dude. But I think he only rides with the dude because that's his quarterback for the time being. Once the quarterback changes, hey, that's my guy. And that happens all the time in the NFL. He's your guy until he gets replaced and the other guy plays better. And then you go, well, that's my guy. And then you kind of give that statement, well, I don't care who's in there, we're going to do whatever we can to be able to win the game. Like, he gives the perfect answers, right? But I think if you really break it down, I don't think anybody was really looking forward to Deshaun Watson being their quarterback, considering the controversy that's around him, considering the lack of play time that he's had, considering that, quite frankly, when you first saw him play in those games coming back after his suspension, he didn't look very good. And now he's got an injury bug that seems to be following him left and right for whatever reason. I don't know. But you have to wonder, what was the turnaround here? Why did this team look so good? My answer has to be because you have a competent quarterback who's in there, who gets the idea of what he has to do, who understands the mission at hand, and who the guys believe in and trust. And they seem to like, and they seem to back. They only backed Deshaun Watson, I think, because he was the starting quarterback, because there was no other choice. What are they going to do? The owner was really probably the one more than anything that picked him. Good for Jameis Winston. I'm glad for him. Glad for him. Glad it's a little bit of a redemption story for him. I'm happy for him to be able to kind of get that opportunity. But let's move on from there, from Cleveland, because let's talk about a team whose quarterback delivered, but the team certainly did not as well, right? A team who most of us thought that from a trade for Devontae Adams would improve, and that's the New York Jets, right? Because the Jets have hit the lowest point at this point in their time. They are now at the very bottom, at the bottom of the AFC East. They are now last place at 2-6 after the New England Patriots pull off a 3-point victory over them, 25-22, where Aaron Rodgers has another great game, but the Jets still not able to subdue the lowly New England Patriots. Now looking like a team that might actually finish at the bottom of the NFL if they can't get this together. They have hit the lowest point at the very bottom of the NFL. Seriously. They do not look... There is chemistry all off there. And I talked about this last week, and I've kind of been harping on it because so many people picked the Jets with a healthy Aaron Rodgers and, the possibility they'll trade for Devontae, and that chemistry will be there, and Hassan Reddick will be back with the team. Well, Hassan Reddick's coming back this week, right? Or he came back this week, I should say. But Hassan Reddick, he's not a difference maker like you thought he would be because this Jets team is so unbalanced. Your quarterback has no chemistry with this team because for whatever reason, it doesn't feel like he's vibing with anybody other than maybe Garrett Wilson, but that's because he's dependent on Garrett Wilson to be his playmaker. Devontae still needs some coaxing to get in here. He's brand new still. The offensive line has been put together with spit and duct tape, and I don't want to say Olu Fashanu is a bust because he could still grow into the position of being a tackle. We saw it with Andrew Thomas, but this kid is struggling to be able to play left tackle when he's really a right tackle more than anything. And they don't have an answer at the other side to be able to help protect on that line. Outside of the two receivers, they have nobody else to really be the passing target. Their run game is still a complete and utter sloppy mess. And that defense was giving up big play after big play left and right. And that you cannot have that. That is such a huge detriment to that organization. And it shows. It is painful to watch. It's painful. The Jets could be a very good team, but their problem right now is that they don't have anybody running the ship. Since Ben Olbrich has took over as the head coach, that defense has given up more yards, more points than they have whenever Robert Saleh was around. They don't have anybody in the room to kind of be the big boy, right? To be the man in charge. So now Joe Douglas is taking marching orders from Woody Johnson and telling probably Ben Ulbrich what to do. Ulbrich is trying to do his own thing at the same time to prove himself as a coach, but it's not going well because none of those guys seem to be listening to each other. And, of course, Aaron's now going to probably want to do his own thing. It's a mess. And if that's the kind of dysfunction you have in a franchise, if you have that in any business, mind you, that's a problem. You know, like we work in the production and the broadcasting industry. If you have that kind of dysfunction in the broadcasting industry, guess what happens? TV shows are terrible. Movies turn out to be bad, right? Production is awful. If you can't get it together with your group behind the scenes, how do you expect the main thing to work? It's not going to. There's so many moving parts to this that need to be in sync, and that's the problem. The Jets, I said this before last week, they feel like the ensemble that you put together for like that big Hollywood movie where it's like we've got 50 Oscar winners and Tony winners and Golden Globe winners all in this one movie. Yeah, that's great. How's the script? What's the background look like? What are the producer and the director and the writers like? Because if those guys stink, the movie's going to stink, right? It can look beautiful. It can look great. It can sound fantastic on paper, but when you execute it, is it going to be able to produce the same way that you thought it would when it was just here? Once it's out there, is it going to be the same? It's not working for the Jets. They don't have the people in the background to be able to manage this. And I don't know, quite frankly, if any of those people want to manage it. It feels like a ship that has no sail. It's just going with the ocean flow. Right? But they have a rudder, right? Yeah, but the rudder's broken too. So no sails, no sails to catch the wind. The rudder's broken, right? You have no oars on board because you never thought this would be an issue. You didn't think of any of this through. You just saw star, you saw big name, you signed big name, and you thought, now we either be successful and make money or we win. And maybe we get both. But you were hoping for one or the other, and right now, you're making one where you're making the money, but you're not winning. And pretty soon, that money will start to dissipate. But at the end of the day, does Woody Johnson really care? No, because he's going to get his check regardless from the TV revenue. And that's the problem. He's an owner who I think does not care about the football side of things. He's an owner who cares about the business aspect, which I get you're allowed to do. But you have to then hire people who are going to care enough about the football side of things that the president, vice president, GM, assistant GM, all the way down to the coaching side, that are going to be able to manage every level of expectation of what the team is supposed to be. If you don't care about the team, fine. If that's another business part of your portfolio, okay, fine. But then you have to have the proper people in place to make sure this thing is being run to the extent that is needed. But, listen, if it says anything, just look at what happened in the last minute of that Jets game, right? Aaron Rodgers was walking off the field when the Jets were at the end of that game against the Patriots, right? Says everything you need to know about the Jets. Says everything you need to know about the Jets. Well, and speaking of walk-off, too, let's go to this because this was a shocking one. So if you don't know, Indianapolis Colts have a young quarterback by the name of Anthony Richardson who finally returned after injury. He was starting in this game. He looked good. But we have come to now find out that if you didn't watch the game, there was a highlighted moment in that game where Anthony Richardson apparently walked off because he was, quote-unquote, tired, which was a little shocking, to be quite honest. I don't know exactly where that came from. I'm not sure exactly what that situation was like. I didn't quite understand it. To be honest with you, it kind of threw me off a bit. I watched that game, and I was not expecting a quarterback to walk off the field. I thought he was hurt when I saw the video, but apparently from everybody, what he said in the post-conference was, yeah, I was tired. And I saw Pat McAfee, and a lot of people were putting it out there. Pat McAfee kind of tweeted to sum it up in words, basically, dude, you're the franchise quarterback and you walk off the field because you're exhausted. That's not a good look for your team. How do you think people are going to view that? And now, and by the way, they didn't win that game either. So how does that look right now for the Colts? Your team, your fan bases, your front office. Remember, they drafted this young man saying he had unlocked potential. The guy didn't have the stats. He didn't really even have the wins, but he had the look. What's the look? He's 6'5", he's 240, right? He's got that look. We say that all the time for, what was it like, what's the whole thing that people always say, what's a woman's dream guy? Tall, dark, and handsome, right? And it's exactly what Anthony Richardson is as a quarterback. He's got that look of a guy who should be a franchise quarterback. Problem is, for whatever reason, it's not processing at the top level with his mind about how to be a pro quarterback. Something is missing at that point, it feels like. Not saying he's not smart enough or capable enough to do it. I think he is. But something on the football level is not processing from the college to the pro game. And he's not getting the job done the way he needs to. But if you're tired because your body's exhausted because you've been hurt, have you worked out properly? Did you stretch properly? Are you prepared to handle the amount of time and energy that is consumed to play a football game at the NFL level? That is something that is concerning. Because if you're the franchise quarterback, you have to be able to maintain 60 minutes of football. Right? 60 minutes you're on the field. 60 minutes you're on the field. You're playing for approximately about 2 to 3 hours, give or take, depending on how long the game might be. It all depends, right? And you can't handle that? I know it was just for a play, I think it was, just for a play or a series or something like that. That's still concerning, though. That's still concerning. You can minimalize it. Sure, you can minimalize it. It's not the biggest deal in the world, but what if this happens again? This is just a point where you got to think Are the Colts spiraling out of control? This is another franchise. Ownership, management, all of that stuff at the top. It's not being very well conducted. They took a quarterback on a fly that they felt was going to be the franchise. The problem is, though, is that there were other players at the top that you could have easily gone to and drafted that could have been a very good solution for the Colts. But you put all this investment into this 4th overall pick and said, this is the guy that we want to take because he had the look, he had the ability, all of that stuff. He's very Vince Young. Vince Young was 6'5", 230, had the arm, had the speed, had that ability to be able to be a winner at Texas, right? National championship. Now, Richardson doesn't have that, but he had all the capabilities of having those skill sets as well on a better team. He just went to Florida. That's the problem. But it's not out of the realm to say this guy could still excel and be a top quarterback, but something's missing. Something's wrong. It's not out of the realm of possibility, again, for him to be able to take the Colts to the playoffs still, too. But more and more, it's looking like this is an investment the Colts made that was not properly evaluated. They went based off of look, off of feel, off of what Shane Steichen's offense was with Jalen Hurts and said, this is bigger, stronger, Jalen Hurts, and let's roll with it. He'll be great for this offense. It's a completely different animal. It's a completely different monster from Philly to Indianapolis. Now I think the Colts have to ask themselves the question, do we have the right quarterback? And if not, what do you do with that? Do you move off of him like a Josh Rosen? Do you move off of him like a Justin Fields? Do you move off of that quarterback and maybe go find somebody that might be better? I'm not saying that Shedeur Sanders or Quinn Ewers or any of those guys are going to be better. But if you're the Colts, do you maybe say, let's trade Anthony Richardson, be bad for a year, try and get the top pick, and maybe let's see if Arch Manning comes out his junior year, and maybe try to see if we can do another Manning situation? Because when they got Peyton Manning, they won a Super Bowl. And they won the division countlessly. I don't know if Arch can do that, but what if he can? What if he does? It's food for thought. But you're banking on this young man to hopefully be the franchise, and right now, he's not proving it. It's unfortunate, but you have to hope and pray that he can actually get the job done at some point, but I don't know if he will. But speaking of prayer, let's move into this. Because Chicago played a game this past weekend as well. They played against the Washington Commanders. And with a heave and a prayer, folks, with a game in line, 15-12 with 6 seconds left, Jaden Daniels threw the Hail Mary of a life, a movie type of Hail Mary that you see only in like Friday Night Lights or, well, Friday Night Lights, it doesn't work, obviously. It's an unsuccessful one. Varsity Blues, I think it was one like that, right? The fake Hail Mary, whatever it was, something like that. Jaden Daniels threw a Hail Mary right into a pile. Unfortunately, the ball just bounced into the air, but who's there? Noah Brown. That's right, the guy we all knew was going to make the play. Former Dallas Cowboy wide receiver Noah Brown is right there to catch the ball in his hands like it was just the easiest thing in the world for the touchdown to win the game, 18-15. And I understand that there's a lot of people very upset. Does this mean that Jaden's better than Caleb? Not really. He played better than Caleb, that's for sure. Dan Quinn did an excellent job singling out how to stop Caleb Williams from being able to throw all over them. He knew their secondary was weak. He put pressure on Caleb Williams to make sure that he couldn't make specific throws. They did a really good job at disguising a lot of their blitzes and making sure that their zone coverage was key on so they could take away underneath routes and over-the-top routes so that this way they could have a clean field. That's not a good secondary, but they did a great job collectively as a team, as a defense as a whole, shutting down Caleb Williams' ability to pass. Now that opened the run game up for Chicago, and that's, I think, what Washington wanted, right? Beat us with the run game. DeAndre Swift did a great job, right? Caleb even did a solid job, too, running the football as well. But all around, you look at that entire game, Chicago could have had that win. Washington, though, played a whole lot better. They just didn't execute in the red zone, which was that's key for the Bears. That's a critical thing. Chicago had the game in hand, but on the last play of the game, it's a lot of luck, but there's also a little bit of strategy to this too, which is, yes, Tyreek Stevenson's in the back of the end zone, right, mocking fans and stuff, and then you see a group of Bears fans pointing like, the ball's been snapped, get over there. Could he have covered Noah Brown? Yes, that probably should have been his man to cover in that moment. One thing I will tell everybody that I've noticed, especially in high school, Hail Mary plays are now no longer just considered, toss up the ball. I've seen 2 different Hail Marys about 5-6 years back when I first started doing the whole high school recruiting thing. One of them was a hook and ladder Hail Mary where their biggest, tallest wide receiver caught the ball. The defense swarmed to him to stop the ball, and then one of the fastest receivers on the team came around in front of him. He pitched the ball off as he was going down. He ran up the sidelines for a touchdown to win the game. It was one of the best things I had ever seen before. It was unbelievable to watch. Could not believe it. Absolutely incredible, incredible play. Like, they get very creative now with this kind of stuff. They practice these kinds of things. Not to say that this is a practice thing, but I do know that probably since I would say 2018, 2019, I've noticed there's a lot of teams that practice the sort of like, hey, if the ball goes flying into the air for a Hail Mary and it happens to bounce a certain way, be in position to possibly make a catch because you might be able to make a play to actually be able to get into the end zone. I've seen it too many times to know that this is a thing that can actually happen. This is the thing that you practice. The ball bounces up. Make sure somebody's in the back of the end zone in that area to at least be able to say, like, hey, I might be able to manage to go and get that ball if it bounces my way. A lot of it is luck. But a part of it is also going to be, as small as it might be, it's just awareness of the situation. It's unfortunate for the Bears, but for Washington, this just goes to prove that this is a team that might be just against the odds. They might just be able to beat teams by the fact that they just want it more, maybe. This is not a hard sell to say that Dan Quinn coaching this team could actually be something worth watching more and more. They look very good. They're not perfect. They can be beaten. But right now, they look like they're on top of the world, especially in the NFC East. And speaking of the NFC East, let's talk about their counterpartners, right? The Cowboys. Because things are self-destructing in Dallas right now. Things are looking really bad. Dallas lost their game 30-24 against the 49ers last night. They had every chance to be able to win that game. They had so many opportunities to be able to go in there and win that game against the San Francisco, and they botch it. Dak throws bad interceptions. They don't have a run game that can sustain it all. Their passing game, as far as the receivers go, guys seem to be running the wrong routes. Guys somewhat look confused. The offensive line was not holding up the way they should have. And this is a good San Francisco team, of course. But Dallas had a chance to upset this team that is banged up, injured, and not playing well this year. They had an opportunity to keep themselves in the fight, to keep themselves in the hunt. But they lost it. They lost this game. And after this whole week that Dallas has had, right? Consider this. You've got Jerry Jones who's yelling at radio hosts about, if you guys don't ask the right questions, I'll find somebody else to do your job for you. So that's a bit of a career threat right there, right? On top of that, then you have Jerry Jones going back on the air saying, our play scheme's not good. So now you're blaming the coach and the coaching staff. Mike McCarthy then has to defend himself on the air by saying, we're trying to do our best. You got former teammates and current team members who are saying there's tours in Dallas, in the stadium that are distracting us when we're trying to get work done. Dak then dismisses that, but he's the star quarterback. There's people around him to dismiss whatever tours are going on to be like, hey, he's got to be busy. He's got to be focused. There's just all of this noise going on in Dallas. And look, we've said this before on this show. When a team has a lot of noise around itself, what does that usually mean? Bad things are happening. It's a bad omen. Right? And Dallas is one of those teams where there's always some sort of noise. Even to the offseason beforehand, right? When we were getting ready to do the draft show in April, we were talking about how Dallas was saying they're going to go all in. We're all in on trying to make the Super Bowl, right? They made one free agent move. One. one move for a linebacker. That's it. They didn't do anything in the draft that really addressed their issues in the run game. They got a left tackle, yes, in Tyler Guyton, but he is starting and way overmatched, right? He is just not getting the job done right now to protect Dak Prescott. They don't have a running back. They don't have another wide receiver that they can really call as a number 2. They just have a bunch of guys they're trying to throw junk at. And their defense is trying their best, but they're banged up from Micah Parsons to DeMarcus Lawrence, right? Deron Bland, their number 2 cornerback, is now out as well. They don't seem to have a position solved at safety potentially. There are a lot of questions with Dallas. They are self-destructing constantly, and a lot of this has to do with the fact that one man, Jerry Jones, is wearing 3 different hats trying to control this thing. Meanwhile, Mike McCarthy, who should be the guy in control of the football team, it doesn't feel like he has any control on the football team. So who's in command here? Who's got the final word? Who's got the say-so? Who's in charge? If you can't answer the question, who's in charge of the football team, that's a problem. You have to answer that question. Who is in charge? They don't have an answer. Mike should run the football team. Jerry should be running the organization. It feels like Jerry Jones is running everything. Mike is taking marching orders, and then everybody else is just kind of following through as the players and the staff. Mike McCarthy is going to get fired because he's the scapegoat all of a sudden for Jerry Jones, when he's really not that bad of a coach, but it's because of the Dallas Cowboys basically not giving him any support. Dak is a good quarterback, not a great quarterback, but he's a good quarterback. But he has no support. How do you win when you don't have anybody backing you, when you have no support? You don't win. It's kind of the same thing in life, right? You don't have anybody have your back. You don't have anybody to support you. How are you gonna get through life? I got a bunch of people who have my back. A bunch of people. And when times are tight, I like to be able to lean on those people. They give me some very encouraging words. They help kind of prop me up. Some of them even have to kick me and slap me in the face occasionally. It's nice to have. But it's frustrating to watch this Dallas team and watch that there is nobody looking out for that football team. That head coach will be used as the reason why everything went wrong, when the reality is, I think it falls on the owner. As much as Jerry has done good for the Cowboys, he has also done some bad for them. With every yin, there's a yang. With every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. For everything he's done to help build that team up to being a $10 billion franchise, he has also done a lot to harm them, I think, from being that Super Bowl winning franchise as well. Painful to watch. Very painful to watch. But folks, that's going to do it for the NFL portion. Let us know, what do you think about these games? What do you think about these situations? Comment, let us know. We want to hear from you guys on that as well. Questions or comments, of course, at XBomb Sports on the Instagram and Twitter. xbsportsofficial@gmail.com for questions or comments on this stuff. When we come back, we're going to get into the college football stuff, and then we're going to get into the MLB stuff as well, ladies and gents, because the World Series is going on. We got to talk about the Heisman Trophy race. This is getting interesting here, folks. We're going to be on all of that here on the XBomb Sports Live Show.
Man, I'm so hungry. I need somewhere to eat fast. I have no idea where to go.
Psst. Hola, me llamo El Taco de Taco. You know where to go for the amazing taste that'll have you craving more? Taco Bell.
All right, can I get 20 tacos, please?
You got it.
Thanks, Taco.
De nada.
Good. That's it. Eat the tacos.
Taco Bell. Live más.
Wear your best attitude. Feel the power. Run towards your goals.
Make each footprint count. Believe in yourself.
Mark the difference.
Just do it.
Celsius, the fastest growing energy drink in America. 0 sugar, low calories, and 200 milligrams of caffeine. Celsius is the ideal drink for anyone who wants to get the most out of their day. 4 distinct flavors: orange, kiwi guava, wild berry, white peach. Drinking Celsius prior to fitness activities has proven to accelerate your metabolism, burn body fat, and provide essential energy. Celsius, live fit. The official drink of Chad Podcast.
And welcome back here, everybody, to the X-Bomb Sports Live Show. I'm still Andrew Valentin. We are still live here from X-Bomb Sports on YouTube and on Twitch as well, ladies and gentlemen. We just got done talking about the NFL. I hope you're all thoroughly enjoyed that one, ladies and gents. And now we're going to be jumping into 2 sports, kind of mixing it into one just to kind of talk about these 2. So I thought it'd be good. Let's dive into some college football here, folks. So on the college football world, as I'm sure you all know, there's this really famous trophy by the name of Heisman. It is arguably the best award, singular award any individual in college football can win. It is the one that most of us are always kind of most intrigued by, I would say, to see who exactly wins these awards and stuff. And this year is interesting, to say the least, because we are witnessing kind of a Heisman for the years, right? This is a very, very interesting watch for this year's one because there is a throwback feel to the Heisman Trophy as well as a very futuristic feel for the Heisman Trophy as well, right? That's the kind of the vibe that I get watching that whole situation go down. On one hand, you have a young running back by the name of Ashton Ginty, who is from Boise State. This is a thoroughbred of a running back that we have not seen for quite a few years now. It's been quite a while. He has been a star-studded individual for this team, breaking all kinds of records, currently on pace to potentially try and break Barry Sanders' all-time rushing record for yards, touchdowns, and carries. I mean, right now, at this point, Gianti has over 1,300 yards, 18 touchdowns on the ground on just over 150 carries, which is insane, right? He is the bread and butter of that Boise State team, and they are 6-1 right now, 15th in the country because of that. On the other hand, you have the other man from Colorado, right? This is Travis Hunter, the dynamic athlete, if you will, right? Combination wide receiver, defensive back, playing over 200 snaps in total between both sides of the ball. Last week had over 200 yards receiving, couple touchdowns. Also was able to go in and make a couple plays on defense as well to break up some passes. He has been electrifying to watch on both sides of the ball. Nobody would deny that this guy can absolutely ball out as a cornerback or as a wide receiver. And the question becomes, well, of these two, who is the rightful heir to the Heisman Trophy? Because one of them is a throwback. Old school, right? He's part of the past. That's Ginty, right? He's the bread and butter, 3 yards, cloud of dust running back, break tackles, make plays. I said he's a Maurice Jones-Drew. He does have a little bit of that Barry Sanders to himself, but he's just more physical, I think, than what Barry was. Not to say Barry wasn't physical, but Barry Sanders was always more elusive. This is a guy who he doesn't go down easy, which is why I equate him to Maurice Jones-Drew, who used to play at UCLA and then became a Jaguars all-time great. On the other side, you have Travis Hunter, who I said on Twitter he was Charles Woodson, or not Charles Woodson, Chris Gamble. I would maybe say he's better than Chris Gamble and probably say he's Champ Bailey, who played wide receiver and cornerback equally at Georgia. But he's so fast. And he's not as big, but he's fast. He's so quick on the draw for interceptions, receiving touchdowns. This kid can do it all. And it really feels like it's a race between those two. And then you've got a slew of other guys that come in line after them, right? You've got Cam Ward. You've got a lot of the usual quarterback looks that come through, right? But Ginty versus Hunter is kind of the battle. And I just wanted to explore this because this is it's so interesting to watch the people who have the Heisman votes kind of be divided on how they want to play this thing out. Because there's so many that I think respect the old school way of doing things in Ginty, right? Run the football, play power ball, muscle through defenders. That's great. But there's a lot of people that are looking at Travis Hunter going, have we ever seen an athlete this dynamic? We've seen a lot of great athletes in Charles Woodson, in Champ Bailey, Chris Gamble, guys that have played both sides. But to see a guy be this effective on both sides of the ball, you'd have to go all the way back to the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, back when guys were playing both ways way more often in college football than they are now. It's unbelievable. He's also, in a way, a throwback, but he's so nuanced in the game now that I think he's still kind of the future in a lot of ways of what college football maybe could be, where guys are so athletically gifted on both sides of the ball that you may have guys that can potentially play both ways during a game. It's not highly recommended, of course, because you have enough players on the team to fill in the roles. But if a guy is a big enough impact player, why not play him both ways? He's a rare breed. He is a bit of a throwback in his own right, but he feels like the future because of how quick and fast he is and how versatile he is. He feels like a guy who could be utilized on both sides of the ball very effectively. Now, at the next level as a pro, that's not recommended at all. But Travis Hunter, Ashton Ginty, they have been the prime diamonds in the rough on the college football season. Now, to be fair for both, Colorado is still pretty far off from making the college football playoff, but they have a shot. Boise State has a good shot too. What would keep them both from winning the Heisman? For Ginty, it's big fish, small pond. Right? He's not playing against the best in the Mountain West. It's a lot of average teams in there. Right? He's not playing against the best competition in the country necessarily. But he's still doing great. And for Travis Hunter, he's really the best option that Shedeur Sanders has as a quarterback. And Shedeur Sanders is a good quarterback, so let's give him credit. He's got a talented guy throwing him the football. If he were on any other team with an average dude, if he was right now at Florida State with Cronenok or any of those other guys or DJ Uiagalelei, would he be having the same success? There's a very good chance that might not be the case. Would he be able to do this if he was still a cornerback primarily too? That's another question. I think they're definitely the front runners for the Heisman. I think there's just a lot of questions to be asked as far as, are these the guys that necessarily are going to carry the game going forward for the college football world? Right? Can these guys change how we look at college football? That's a good question. I don't know. Feels like they can, but it's a very big if right now at this point. I guess we're going to find out. I'm really intrigued to see how those two definitely work out. That's for sure. All right, let's move into more college football because we had a lot of stuff happen this week for college football that I want to discuss. So it's kind of a recap of what happened this week in college football. I just want to go over some of the top games that I was able to see so far for the week. So this is a little bit of a recap of the Week 9 stuff, the best and the worst of what we were able to find. You know, college football this week, I mean, it was interesting to watch. The first one that I want to bring up, Pitt kind of came out of nowhere, right? Pitt had 5 interceptions, 3 back for a touchdown against Kyle McCord, which I would now have to say we have to call into question if Kyle McCord was ever going to be the starting quarterback in Ohio State, because while some of those interceptions were not necessarily his fault, a couple of those, like, he's just looking at the guy and he throws that ball and it's wrong place, wrong time kind of thing. As in, he threw it at the wrong place at the wrong time. Like, not like, oh, it's not his fault. No, definitely on his level of his fault. That's for sure. You had, again, Boston College, Boise State. We just talked about them. Boise State just barely snuck by UNLV. That was one of the best group of 5 games I had watched, where it was a battle through and through, and UNLV looked like they may have had that one in hand, but Ginty once again's come through for the Boise State Broncos, and they find a way to be able to get the win. That might have been his Heisman moment kind of game. On the Saturday note, though, too, you had some really good games. You had Nebraska, right? Nebraska almost took another win away from Ohio State. Came so close. And now you have to question if Ohio State is national contention worthy. I still think they are, by the way. But that was not a good look for them. Offense was there, but they did not produce a lot more than I thought they should have against a Nebraska team that's young, that's still growing, that still has a lot of pieces that they're still trying to figure out how everything fits together. That should have been a team that they took advantage of, and instead, they let them hang around in the ballgame for quite too long. All the way to the end, in fact. Then you had Texas, who everybody said Vanderbilt had a winning record against Texas, which, yes, they do, actually, but it's all from the 30s and the 40s. It's nothing in the current time, right? But here again, Vanderbilt at number 25 in the country took on Texas, and they took them right down to the wire. Quinn Ewers had a pretty good game, but Vanderbilt looks like they have something growing there. It could be the one-year wonder, of course. Could be the one-year wonder, but Texas is another team that looks alarming after what we saw, but Quinn Ewers still played a pretty decent game, still kept them in the fight, kept them in the gave them the opportunity. It was a great look for them. You got Miami playing Florida State. We knew that was going to be a stomp out. A lot of people are criticizing Cristobal for what he said at his press conference after the game about recruits should be going to Miami, which, hey, look, you can be critical about whatever you want. Cam Ward, folks, is the reason why, yes, Miami is succeeding. But here's also the reality. Cam Ward and Miami's success could be the reason why that entire program transforms once again back into the U. This could be enough. I mean, you look at what Damian Martinez did in that game. 15 carries, 148 yards, 2 touchdowns. Mark Fletcher Jr., their backup, he almost had 100 yards rushing. This is a team. This is a team that could stun some opponents. They have the quarterback, who I think would be a finalist for the Heisman right now. They have a unit on the offensive line that protects them. They have a defense that I think is very good. Then we got to talk about LSU, my team. They took a stomping at Texas A&M. They had it. Man, they had an opportunity to take that game. But they let Texas A&M back in the game. And look, A&M did a really good job. They ran the ball efficiently. They moved the chains. They killed the clock. They held on. And then their defense played fantastic. I can't take anything away from them. Do I think that A&M is a top team in the country? It's hard to tell. Tom Elko's done a really good job, I think, with revamping that team. But I don't know if they're a top team in the nation still. When you don't have great quarterback play, and look, we saw that in at Michigan, of course, top quarterback play is not always needed, but you do need a quarterback at some point to start making the plays through the air when your ground game can't get it done, because you get to the college football playoff, you're going to meet some teams there that are absolutely going to stun you with their defense. They're going to stunt your running game, and you're going to have to throw the ball, and if you're not proficient enough at throwing the football, you're going to find yourself sinking into quicksand, and it'll be over before you even know it. And lastly, one of the last games I want to note here too, we got to talk about Indiana, folks, because Indiana looks like they're on a mission. Signetti comes from James Madison, takes over the job at Indiana. Most of us were dismissing it as like, well, they'll go 6-6, maybe they'll go 7-5, make a bowl game, something like that. Folks, they're 7-0. This is the best start for Indiana since 1967. Okay? That's a long time ago. I don't know if you know that. The Hoosiers have never looked this good. They've got a quarterback who on most top teams in the country would probably be a third-string quarterback. And yet he looks like a potential Heisman Trophy winner. And he's been hurt, by the way, in this game. Their backup looks like he could be an efficient player, too. Their defense is incredible. Their run game is solid. Their special teams is on point. Cignetti is one of the best coaches in the country, and if he stays at Indiana, he will build them probably into a Big Ten powerhouse, I'm sure, with more recruiting, more transfer portal help. Because there's 13 transfer portal guys out of 30-some guys that went to Indiana that are starting on that football team out of 22. That's incredible, but they work. My own thinking is he's going to get a big offer coming from a big program sometime soon. My guess is it's probably going to be Florida that makes a huge offer for him. And if Ohio State can't beat Michigan this year, if that doesn't happen, Ryan Day gets fired and there's another program open. Would you leave Indiana for Ohio State? You bet your bottom dollar. Excuse me. Thank you. Sorry, I get allergic when I start talking about like another team doing better than LSU. It stinks. I'd love to have you know what? If you fire Brian Kelly, LSU, hire Cignetti, please, because this dude turns it around. And this dude has, like, I believe he's Italian, and I don't mean to run this stereotype, but he's got the Don Mafia Godfather feel to himself. Like, he just runs stuff. You know, I don't mean that to be offensive to anybody or anything. I'm just saying that guy definitely takes control. And you can see that it works. Those kids follow him. They follow in line. That staff loves him. They fall in line. That guy knows how to build programs. So if you're looking for your program to be rebuilt and it's a power program, he's the guy to hire. He's the Godfather. He's the Don. He's in charge. He puffs out his chest and he knows he's the biggest guy. He's Tony Soprano. That dude is absolutely running stuff. That guy knows how to get stuff done. No, I don't want to hear the if, ands, or buts. He's just like, do it. And it works. It works. Unbelievable. Unbelievable to watch. All right. Outside of college football, though, let's talk about this World Series, shall we? Because baseball's been going on, folks. Championships on the line tonight. Game 3, Yankees, Dodgers. It's happening. Right now, as we sit here, the World Series is a clash of titans. Well, that clash of titans right now is very one-sided as the Yankees are being dominated by the Dodgers. Now, granted, the Dodgers have been at home, but the Dodgers take Game 1, 6-3 in the series. You've got then the Yankees taking the series, trying to take the series in Game 2, but the Dodgers hold on to be able to fight them off. And it has been a World Series to watch, ladies and gentlemen. This is one that has been, I thought it was going to be a thorough, amazing watch. And it has been, by the way. It has. But it's also feeling very one-sided, too. Because where the Dodgers stars are really shining, the Yankees stars are sort of fading, right? Now, Stanton performed, but he's a falling star at this point, right? He's aging out. Aaron Judge looks like he's completely like out of sync, out of funk on that one. And then you have a player like Shohei who is showing up. Mookie Betts is showing up. They have their stars playing at the top of the level. But the Yankees are not delivering the way that we thought they were supposed to. I mean, this is the key matchup, right? This is the old school rivalry. This was all the way back in the days of when the Dodgers were in Brooklyn and the Yankees were in New York and the Bronx when they were playing at old Yankee Stadium. This goes back to the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, all the way back in those days. And then when the Dodgers moved to Los Angeles, that rivalry continued because it was East Coast versus West Coast. It was New York City versus Los Angeles. It was the top guys going back and forth fighting with each other. This is a rivalry that does exist, but it's always existed mostly within the postseason and the occasional matchup in the regular season. But it does exist. It's there. But the problem is that the Yankees, as good as they may look and they be built, they are struggling to have their stars perform on the highest level, and you can't have that. You need your best players to be performing at the highest point possible. That's what the Dodgers have. The Yankees are missing that completely, and their bullpen mixed with their starters is kind of messy right now. because their bullpen has been what's been saving them, just like the Dodgers, by the way. Their bullpen's been saving them too. But problem is, as it stands now, the Dodgers bullpen came alive during the World Series run here in the playoffs and has continued to be on their game. The Yankees, unfortunately, for whatever reason, their starters, while we're starting to taper off into a very good look at the very end there, but their bullpen has been very good. But now here in the playoffs, it's been kind of a mixed bag. Guys have not really been able to perform to the level that they needed to. And it has been a struggle left and right. So, I mean, whatever comes forward from this, I understand that for the Yankees and the Dodgers, there's a lot that needs to be desired from that. I mean, there's a lot more of that series to be made. But look, we'll figure that out, obviously. Game 3's tonight. I simply wanted to explore that because we got a lot more. We'll talk about the World Series when it comes down to an end, when we figure out who's the winner on this, explore that whole situation down pat. But folks, it is something to be bewildered right now to watch that whole situation play out for the World Series. Continue to watch because this is going to be probably one of the most watched ones in a while. But don't be surprised, too, if this closes out in a 4-game series because the Dodgers are ripping it right now. The Yankees, if they don't get a win here at home, I don't think they survive much longer. It could be a clean sweep for them. But, folks, that's going to do it here for the college football stuff and for the World Series talk. Obviously, let us know. We want to hear from you guys. What do you think about that? World Series stuff, college football, Heisman Trophy. Obviously, let us know in the comment section down below. We want to hear from you guys on that stuff as well. When we come back here, we're going to rip right through these very quickly. We're going to do the Pick 6, and then we're going to get out of here, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on the X-Bomb Sports Live Show.
Man, I'm so hungry. I need somewhere to eat fast. I have no idea where to go.
Psst. Hola, me llamo El Taco de Taco. You know where to go for the amazing taste that'll have you craving more? Taco Bell.
Can I get 20 tacos, please?
You got it.
Thanks, Taco.
De nada.
Good. That's it. Eat the tacos.
Taco Bell. Live más.
Wear your best attitude. Feel the power.
Run towards your goals.
Make each footprint count. Believe in yourself.
Mark the difference.
Just do it.
Celsius, the fastest growing energy drink in America. 0 sugar, low calories, and 200 milligrams of caffeine. Celsius is the ideal drink for anyone who wants to get the most out of their day. 4 distinct flavors: orange, kiwi guava, wild berry, white peach. Drinking Celsius prior to fitness activities has proven to accelerate your metabolism, burn body fat, and provide essential energy. Celsius. Live fit. The official drink of Chad Podcast.
Man, I'm so hungry. I need somewhere to eat fast. I have no idea where to go.
Psst. Hola, me llamo El Taco de Taco. You know where to go for the amazing taste that'll have you craving more? Taco Bell.
Can I get 20 tacos, please?
You got it.
Thanks, Taco.
De nada.
Good. That's it. Eat the tacos.
Taco Bell. Live más.
Wear your best attitude.
Feel the power.
Run towards your goals.
Make each footprint count. Believe in yourself.
Mark the difference.
Just do it.
Celsius, the fastest growing energy drink in America. Zero sugar, low calories, and 200 milligrams of caffeine. Celsius is the ideal drink for anyone who wants to get the most out of their day. 4 distinct flavors: orange, kiwi guava, wild berry, white peach. Drinking Celsius prior to fitness activities has proven to accelerate your metabolism, burn body fat, and provide essential energy. Celsius, live fit. The official drink of Chad Podcast.
Man, I'm so hungry. I need somewhere to eat fast. I have no idea where to go.
Hola, me llamo El Taco de Taco. You know where to go for the amazing taste that'll have you craving more? Taco Bell.
All right, can I get 20 tacos, please?
You got it.
Thanks, Taco.
De nada.
Good. That's it. Eat the tacos.
Taco Bell. Live más.
Wear your best attitude.
Feel the power.
Run towards your goals.
Make each footprint count. Believe in yourself.
Mark the difference.
Just do it.
Celsius, the fastest growing energy drink in America. Zero sugar, low calories, and 200 milligrams of caffeine. Celsius is the ideal drink for anyone who wants to get the most out of their day. 4 distinct flavors: orange, kiwi guava, wild berry, white peach. Drinking Celsius prior to fitness activities has proven to accelerate your metabolism, burn body fat, and provide essential energy. Celsius, live fit. The official drink of Chad Podcast.
And welcome back, everybody, here to the X-Bomb Sports Live Show. I'm still Andrew Valentin. I hope you're all having a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day and are enjoying the show. We had we're on a kind of long break. We were just getting some technical stuff knocked out of the way, so don't fret, lump fares. But let's run through this very, very quickly. We've got the Pick Six. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Pick Six we are currently going over. This is the combination one. We're doing NFL, college football, because obviously, you know, doing the Friday shows, again, I'm going to try and mix it up, do some different stuff there. So Pick Six, ladies and gentlemen, we are taking the top 6 games of the week, college and pros, for the NFL and college football for next week, this upcoming weekend, and we are going to talk about them. I have 4 college games, 2 pro games. That's kind of seems to be the thing right now to kind of go with, but let's do it. So first up, this is the big matchup of the week, starting off the noon kickoff. It is number 4 Ohio State against number 3 Penn State. I do agree with David, by the way. This should be a whiteout night game at Penn State. If it's going to be at Penn State, this should have been flexed to the night game. So Ohio State is still favored by 4 points at this point. Meanwhile, Ohio State and Penn State are at an over-under of 47.5. And look, after what we saw last week with Ohio State against Nebraska, Penn State should be able to work their magic against Ohio State. They have really done a great job being able to outlast teams, play a very conventional offense, but at the same time an offense that has been effective enough where their defense is very well complicated thanks to James Franklin having good scheming, very good players to kind of step up in the positions where they've lost really good guys. And it's worked out well for them. The Nittany Lions right now are rolling. They're a top team in the country. They're playing like it. They have an ability to possibly go into the Big 10 conference championship and possibly just wipe the floor with who's ever standing up to them. Could be Oregon at this point, it looks like. But Ohio State could also play as game ruiners to them. They have probably the best freshman in the country, maybe Jeremiah Smith. They have an effective quarterback, I would still say, in Will Howard. They have the best running tandem in Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. They have a combination of players there that can make it work. This is one of the best teams, I would say, in college football. Collectively, their group is incredible. But they have to execute. Right? The Oregon game, they were in the fight with them. They were in the hunt. They were right there neck and neck with each other. It's just Oregon made one more play more than Ohio State did. They were not prepared for that. But give it to Ohio State. They hung in there. This is a Penn State team. Again, they're not scoring big-time points, but they are scoring enough to be able to hang in with the big boys and the big cats out there. Ohio State has the ability, though, to shut them down if need be. But so does Penn State. And this could be a game that hits the under that could be a very weak back-and-forth kind of game. So you got to keep that into contention. You've got to keep that into consideration on this whole battle, right? If you're asking me who do I take, sorry, David, I'm going to take Ohio State on this. I'm going to take them on the 4. I think they can maybe even push it to a full touchdowns difference worth. I would say this game probably hits the under. Does not feel like this team is going to be scoring a lot of points. But then again, it could just hit the under. So keep that in mind. It's not like it's going to be an under like of significance. It's going to be an under that at least to some degree holds up pretty well to the 47.5. Next, we've got number 10, Texas A&M against South Carolina. I know, why is this game on here? Because A&M is only favored by 3.5 points on this one. The over-under is at 46.5. Look, A&M did a really good job at home against LSU. I can't argue against them. LSU played a sloppy game, but Texas A&M played a very good run football game, play great defense, and let the quarterbacks do minimal work. They executed on pretty much every level of the game other than passing the football, but they didn't really have to. They had a great run game going for themselves. So A&M is coming in with a lot of momentum behind themselves. That's great. That's cool. That's awesome. Elko's done a really good job, I think, getting this team on point, getting them to be able to believe in themselves, getting that team together. So I got to respect him for that. South Carolina is not a great team, but they're a good enough team that they hung in with Alabama. They've hung in with LSU. They could hang in there with Texas A&M, and they could upset. They don't have the best quarterback. They don't have the best running back. They may have the best edge rusher in Dylan Stewart. That kid is a monster as a freshman. And they have a really good 1-2 combination at both edge rusher positions. But they're going to be a team that's going to try and stop you in the same way that A&M is. A&M is going to try to run the football, have a consistent but conservative passing attack with a great defensive measure to stop you on the other side of the ball. This could be a game, I think, that definitely hits the under pretty well. I would still say A&M probably is favored in this game. I will take them, but I'm going to take them by maybe 4. I'll stretch it to 4.5. It's not giving them much. It's giving them a little bit more. I can't say this is going to be a blowout just yet because I don't think Texas A&M is quite honestly exactly what they should be. Because they're still trying to figure out who Elko's recruits are, if these guys are going to be worthy of sticking around or not, who they have as far as being able to run the football efficiently, and they need to figure out who their quarterback is. Because if you don't have good quarterback play going into the college football playoff, we talked about this already, no good quarterback play in the college football playoff, you are going to drown. You are going to drown. So I'd say A&M by 4.5, go with the under. Next, we've got Louisville. They are taking on the number 11 ranked Clemson Tigers. The Tigers right now are favored by 11.5. The over-under is at 61.5. This is a high-scoring game potentially. Look, Tyler Show has shown me stupid, shown me that this kid can throw the football, right? He's great for what Louisville wants to do. Can he compete with Cade Klubnik and the Clemson Tigers? Yes, I think they can. The 11.5, if you want to go on the plus money for this thing towards Louisville, I would take it. Louisville could probably hang right in there with them at 11.5. Get them right now while you can, because that number may change drastically come Saturday. Look, Clemson's found a consistency to their offense, but let's be very clear here. They're not the same Clemson that Dabo Swinney once had once upon a time with Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence. Klubnik's one of the top quarterbacks in the country when he came out of high school, yes. He is coming from a Harvard-Westlake program that has produced countless top NFL quarterbacks in the past before, specifically Matt Stafford being the most recent, of course. But you have to recognize as well that his approach right now in Clemson is not the same as Lawrence's or as Watson's. He doesn't have the same dynamic wide receivers. Wesco looks like he's going to be pretty good, but Wesco may not be hanging around much longer if he doesn't see more time with the football. Their defense is pretty well stacked still, of course, but those guys are eventually going to start graduating and getting older too and going to the draft. So you need to be making sure that your entire team is going to be stacked for the next few years, with Klubnik potentially going out by next year, trying to maybe go to the NFL draft potentially. Not this year, I'm saying next year, the year after this. It's a good matchup. I may actually take Louisville for the upset. I just don't know if Clemson's going to be able to hang the way they want to. This is not the same Louisville team that we saw last year, of course, but they returned a lot of starters. There's a lot of experience on this team. Show is a big, strong, physical quarterback that can push the ball down the field. I like that. I would say this game definitely could hit the over, but I like Louisville with the way that they hung in there against Miami. I really like Louisville going into this one and possibly upsetting the Clemson Tigers to drop them down from number 11. The next game we got on the list, this is the final college game we have. It's a top 25 matchup. It's number 18 Pitt taking on the number 20 SMU Mustangs. Reason why this game is so interesting, SMU is favored by almost a touchdown. A little more than a touchdown, 7.5. Over-under's at 60.5. I expect this to be a really good game. Now, most people are predicting that Mustangs will blow out Pittsburgh, because Pitt did not look very good against Syracuse, but their defense did a great job against a quarterback that most would say is better than Preston Stone, who plays at SMU. Kyle McCord, I think, is a better quarterback than Preston Stone at SMU. So Kyle McCord throwing 5 interceptions in that game. Again, 2 were not his fault. The other 3 were definitely his fault. It's hard to get over that one, right? It's certainly hard to get over that one, right? SMU is a good football team, don't get me wrong. But I don't know if they can beat what Pittsburgh was able to do. There's a lot of confidence that comes with a game like that. And they've been well rested because they just played Friday, so they've had a lot of time to be able to take a break, practice, get the game plan down. SMU just played Saturday, so they have a little bit more time still, yes, to get ready, but they are going to have to be quick on the draw. And after the way that they saw Kyle McCord play, they have to be on their best game. They have to execute perfectly if they want to beat this Pittsburgh team, because this Pittsburgh team right now is undefeated when they had a quarterback who barely threw for over 100 yards. And Eli Holstein, he's a good QB. He was originally committed to Alabama. He transferred to Pittsburgh as a freshman right now. He's doing a great job. As a redshirt freshman, he's doing a great job. This kid can absolutely execute if he wants to, and I think he's only going to get better. So keep in mind, folks, right now where I stand, Pitt probably upsets SMU. I know it would usually be upset the other way, but SMU's favored in this game. I like Pittsburgh to win this game. I'll say Pittsburgh wins it by a good 7, maybe 8 points. I think this thing, though, I think it hits the under. 60.5 feels like it'll be a lot. I don't think SMU is going to score as many points as they want to, as they have been against a lot of these other teams. But keep this in mind. I'm still happy to see where SMU has now come to, because they have really made a good resurgence back into the top of the college football ranks. And they deserve to, because they've done a great job building with what little recruits they have and the transfer portal guys they brought in. Excellent. But I like Pitt. I'm going to say by the 7.5 going on the plus money, and I'll say it definitely hits the under on this one. Finally, NFL games. We get into it. Chicago's at Arizona. Arizona's favored by 1. 44.5 is the over-under in this game. Can the Chicago Bears and the Arizona Cardinals, is this a matchup that's going to be worthy of what we think it is? It looks like it could be. I like the way the Cardinals looked in this last game. They beat Miami. They did a really good job. Tua came back, but Kyler Murray played better. Kyler Murray played way better. Now, Caleb didn't look very good in this game against Washington. The Commanders did a really good job pressuring him, again, disguising their blitzes, playing really good zone coverage, taking away his options going over the top and underneath. It was a really good job there done by Dan Quinn. This is Gannon, right, coming in, and he is obviously the guy that managed the defense for the Philadelphia Eagles. Arizona's defense is not what Philly has, but they do have enough there to make an impact, I think, on a young rookie quarterback like Caleb Williams. So I think with what you could see right now from Arizona in this past game, you could argue that this game could even be farther away from 1 point, and you could say, well, Arizona should maybe even be favored by a full touchdown maybe against Chicago. Now, Chicago's defense showed that they are still very good, right? They did a very good job getting in against Washington and battling them and fighting them and getting in their teeth and gritting. But what I saw from Chicago and what I saw from Arizona leads me to say that in this game, who am I going to pick? I would say I have to pick Arizona. I'm going to say Arizona. I'm going to say Arizona by maybe more than a touchdown. More than a touchdown, and I would say Arizona over-under at 44.5. You might be able to push that even more because I think Caleb will have a bounce-back game, but I think Arizona will have the ball in the final minute of this game and make the play that can ultimately win them the game. Again, it's nothing against Chicago. This is a young team. They're still trying to feel themselves out. I think this was a rough one coming off a bye week. They took maybe a little too much time off. Maybe they weren't prepared for this game as much as they wanted to be. And instead, they now have to face themselves saying, okay, we have to regroup and we got to get back into the mode, right? Chicago, Arizona, I'm taking Arizona by maybe the full touchdown. I may even push that to 9 points potentially over the 1. And I would say as far as the over-under goes, I think this will hit the over. Caleb will have himself a nice bounce back, but I don't think the Bears win this game. It's in Arizona, mind you, that too. So, and they've had good home field advantage to this point. Final game to talk about: Detroit, Green Bay, battle of who's going to be on the top of the division. Detroit, they're 6-2. Green Bay, they're 5-2 or 6-2. They're looking very good right now. Detroit's coming off a 52-point scoring attempt from scoring butt whooping, I guess, of the Tennessee Titans. Defense was on point. Offense absolutely lit it up. Green Bay, I mean, they barely hung on against the Jaguars team that is supposed to be pretty bad. I would say right now between the two, Matt LaFleur, Dan Campbell, both very good coaches, should be in Coach of the Year conversation for sure. I would say of the two of them, Matt LaFleur has the better scheming, I think, behind him, but Dan Campbell has the better culture. So I guess it just kind of comes down to who do you really like in this game. As far as what I could find, Detroit's favored by 3.5. The over-under's at 48.5. I would say right now I like the possibility of Green Bay, if anything, for a betting size. I think they could cover. Detroit, though, I think absolutely is going to win this game. And the way they've looked so far on offense, they could absolutely run away with it, right? Jared Goff is getting himself back on point. Amon-Ra St. Brown's finding his answer. They're getting other wide receivers attempted into this one. Their run game is impeccable. Jahmyr Gibbs is starting to come alive as one of the better running backs in the NFL. You have all the elements there to get Detroit right now riding into this game against Green Bay, feeling confident, going in there, scoring early, and getting the lead. But I do think Green Bay is also kind of on that confidence run too, where they could be able to match them point for point if they wanted to. But I like the idea of Detroit, I think, still winning this game. I'll say Detroit by 4, maybe push it even to 5. Over-under-wise, I will say I think this just hits the over. Let's say it just hits the over there. Overall, though, I would say I think I like the Detroit Lions winning this game here. Green Bay, I think, could match it, though, tick for tack for sure. This could be a very good divisional game for the division lead for sure. This is a chance, and I think this game, like I said, it just hits the over. That's where I'm at. And that's going to do it for the Pick 6, ladies and gentlemen, and that's going to do it for our show. Thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, we really appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments, as always, if we're live, you guys can hit us up. We're on youtube.com/xbombsports. We're also on twitch.tv/xbombsports as well. If you guys have any questions or comments for me, too, on the social media side of things, you can hit us up at xbombsports on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook as well. I always forget the Facebook as well as at xbombsports, too. So make sure to go check that out as well. You can also find the links for our stream there, too, on the Facebook page. If you haven't found them yet, you can go there and watch the show as well. if you guys also as well, too, want to ask us any questions outside of the show if we are not there, we are at xbsportsofficial@gmail.com for any questions or comments for outside the show or even inside the show, but you want to share more on the email sites where most of the questions come from anyways. We're always more than happy to listen to you guys and hear what you have to say on that end as well. With that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to check out any more of my stuff and follow me anymore, I'm at The Fluffy Guru on Twitter. I'm also at Boom Crew Captain on Instagram as well. You can follow me there. You can find me on Facebook. You can just search my name and you can find me there. My profile, there's another profile out there. Well, there's two profiles out there. One is currently canceled, and the other one is right now a fake profile I found. Somebody trying to be me. Thank you, I'm flattered, but you're scheming my friends into thinking I'm me. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Outside of that, too, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys want to check out, if you guys want to check out any more stuff that we do here on X-Mom Sports, check out Bad Karma Wrestling every Friday. They're going live 11:30-ish. You guys can check them out. It's our boys David Dykstra and Nick Johnson. They're talking about the wrestling world. A lot of wrestling news happened this week. A lot of wrestling news is probably going to break out this week, too. I can't wait. They're going to probably be here to talk about it, so be on the lookout for that. Really can't wait for them stuff. And, of course, our boy Scotty Kiefer's there, too, because he's now part of the show when they do Scotty's World. It's not a world that any of us want to live in. Stay out of that world. So be on the lookout for that every Friday. You can find that 11:30 Central AM time. On top of that, too, again, Friday, we may be going live as well. It'll be a quick, short show, as always, about 30, 40 minutes or so. We may talk some sports stuff. We may just shoot some stuff. Do all the fun stuff in that. So be on the lookout for that too as well, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to kind of stay on for that. Talk a little bit of sports stuff, talk a little bit of life stuff, answer your fan questions on there as well. So make sure to send them in again to all the areas, and I'll be able to scan through them, look through them, and we'll answer some of your questions while we have an opportunity to do so. Other than that, thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for watching. Me and Tyler are going to be going live here too as well on Blow the Whistle. 2 o'clock, be there, p.m. Central Time on SportsTownChicago.com, YouTube, and Twitch side. That's SportsTown Chi on YouTube and on Twitch. Make sure to check it out, ladies and gentlemen. We will be going live on the internet there as well to talk all this sports stuff and more as well, But again, with that, thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for watching. If we don't see you Friday, we'll see you next week on Monday. Thank you all again. Have a great Halloween. Continue to watch those spooky movies. Have a good time. Send in your questions. Love you guys all. Thank you for being such great fans. And as always, ladies and gents, much love. Peace out, Boom Crew.